Recently, we discussed the bill that was going on in Ohio. It was a double whammy. They were like, we are going to go after trans youth being able to access healthcare and just any sports participation for trans women, including in college, including in stuff like darts, just all of it. No trans women allowed. And they did. Okay, so there was a proponents only meeting. We covered that. That meant the people who were supporting the anti-trans bill. There were very few of them. Then we had the opponents meeting where there were like a ton of people showed up, like almost 500 people or maybe more than 500 people. They were speaking against this anti-trans bill. Then it ended up passing with amendments in the Senate. And then I think they moved it back to the House, and then it passed in the House, and then it went to the governor. And we were all like, okay, well, Governor DeWine is a Republican, but there was some question as to whether he was going to sign this thing, right? So the first video I did about this was like, yeah, they're only letting the people who want the anti-trans bill to pass talk about it. And then we did cover the opponents meeting, but I haven't uploaded that to the channel because I ended up being kind of doomerish, I guess, in that video. And it did not end up passing actually. Like when it went to the governor, it passed the Senate, it passed the House. Obviously that's not good, but the governor did stop it. Okay. And so you would think, wow, that's a cause for celebration, right? There are some stipulations to that. And in order to get a really nice rounded idea and make sure that we understand all of the implications of this, we're going to be, at the very minimum, we're going to look at his veto statement. There's the veto message, and then there's his remarks that he gave during the press conference. So we might look at both of those. Hey, real quick, hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Hit the subscribe button as well and turn on all notifications. And also take a moment to check out the links in the description for merchandise and Patreon, where you can find exclusive free content. His veto message for the veto of House Bill 68. So he's disapproving this bill, setting forth the reasons here. I have sought out people on all sides of this issue to hear their concerns. Ultimately, I believe this is about protecting human life. Many parents have told me that their child would be dead today if they had not received the treatment they received from an Ohio children's hospital. I've also been told by those that are now grown adults that but for this care, they would have taken their lives when they were teenagers. Okay, so yeah, basically it's good that he's on the side of these young people. You know, they have had this tough journey. Parents are making decisions about the most precious thing in their life, their child, and none of us should underestimate the gravity and the difficulty of those decisions. So essentially he's coming down on, this is a parents' rights issue. The parents should be able to decide. Parents deserve to be able to dictate this medical care for their children, and it's not right for the state to come in. Yeah, he goes on saying, this would be saying that the state, the government, knows what is medically best for a child rather than the two people who love the child most, the parents. And while there are rare times in the law and other circumstances where the state overrules the medical decisions made by parents, I can think of no example where this is done not only against the decision of the parents, but also against the medical judgment of the treating physician and the treating team of medical experts. So even if the Senate committee members were not particularly moved by all of the medical professionals who came to say, hey, you know, you should really stop doing this anti-trans stuff. Maybe you should let kids transition because they need to be able to do that. The governor actually listened, apparently. He also goes on saying, I have listened to the concerns the legislature raised that led to this bill. While I have reached a different conclusion on whether to sign this bill, I do share a number of these concerns and agree that action is necessary regarding a number of issues raised. This is where it becomes not a good thing that he's landed where he is. It's good that this particular bill, this blanket ban, didn't pass because obviously a blanket ban is bad. But just like in the conversation about sex work, for example, there's a difference between legalization and decriminalization. If you go decriminalization, that's hands off. That's let the market do its thing, whatever. Legalization means, okay, a sex worker needs to register with the state and she can only do things that the state says she can. It has to be within these particular limitations. Like, it is not preferable. And this is kind of a similar thing that we've been seeing. The informed consent model is kind of the hands-off, that's the decriminalization version of trans healthcare. And then there's the legalization version of trans healthcare, which is the state is going to dictate certain things about when it's okay to do it. So he's basically saying he's directing the administration and the relevant agencies to begin working on administrative rules that will go through this full process to establish important protections. He adamantly agrees with the General Assembly that no surgery of this kind should ever be performed on those under the age of 18. I am directing our agencies to draft rules to ban this practice in Ohio. So obviously, that's unfortunate because if surgery is greenlit for those under 18, they have an imminent need for it. Generally speaking, it's not done on those under the age of 18. So if it is being done, it's because it's extremely medically necessary. And of course, I'm 100% certain that any rules that they draft against surgery on minors are going to create exceptions for doing it on healthy intersex babies. And I'm going to bring it up every single time. I share with the legislature their concerns that there is no comprehensive data regarding persons who receive this care, nor independent analysis of any such data. I am today directing our agencies to immediately draft rules to require reporting to the relevant agencies and to report this data to the General Assembly and the public every 6 months. We will do this not only when patients are minors, but also when the patients are adults. So this paragraph right here should scream at you. This is the problem right here. Sharing, okay, so we need to collect data. He says there's no comprehensive data, so we're going to collect the data. Okay, so basically by collecting the private medical data of every single trans person in the state, like a state-run registry of trans people is what we're looking at right here, which it has been talked about in other contexts. A registry of trans people has been talked about in several states in different contexts. This is the first time that it's being done, like seeming as though it's going to be a good thing for trans people. You know, oh, we just need to collect information about these people who transition. What is it? Like, what information do you want? Do you want satisfaction surveys? Like, I don't see how this is not a dramatic violation of privacy rights when it comes to HIPAA, as long as the data doesn't have personal identifiers and is just numbers. But even that is still, if you sit there and take the time, you can find out a lot of individual information, even if you technically are not supposed to have it. This also goes on to say, I also share with the legislature's concerns about clinics that may pop up and try to sell patients inadequate or even ideological treatments. Please explain what that means. This is a concern shared by people I spoke with who had both positive experiences and negative experiences with their own treatments. Those who had positive experiences all noted that they received significant counseling, therapy, and consultation as a family before discussing even the possibility of other treatments. Those who had negative experiences report that they did not receive adequate counseling. Okay, so what we're doing here is setting up, like, yeah, I'm directing our agencies to draft rules that establish restrictions that prevent pop-up clinics or fly-by-night operations and provide important protections for Ohio children and their families and for adults. Like, he's basically saying the only time that kids can transition with positive outcomes is when you force them to do a bunch of therapy first before you let them transition. Those who had negative experiences report that they did not receive adequate counseling. Like, you should make it available to people, but you should not make it, like, required. And I think that that's going to be another crux point of this, that people, folks are so excited that it didn't trash all healthcare, but if you put in more gatekeeping than what there currently is, that's still a bad thing. That's still a bad way to go. We're going from a situation where this thing is not, like, regulated because it doesn't need to be. It's healthcare. Like, it's being done with informed consent with the parents. Everything is going fine, and they are going to still impose state directives on that process, which is still is not a desirable outcome. You don't want Republicans deciding who gets to transition or on what timeline they get to transition. Water. Drink more water. To be clear, and this is the thing that bothers me so much about Governor DeWine and all this, is like, how many trans people are really out there saying we need there to be more gatekeeping and restrictions, versus how many people are like, yeah, no, the way that we've been doing this is just fine. Like, they don't ever ask the people who are actually affected by this what we want. It's like with the reproductive health stuff, they don't go and bring in a panel of women to tell them, how they should do this, and then they actually follow their advice or anything. They don't ever actually take into account what the people that you're creating laws specifically to impose on us specifically and only us. And yet you're not asking our opinion about what is actually useful to us, how the process benefited or didn't benefit some folks. Like, I guess of the people he talked to, and he only talked to, I think he talked mostly to parents and their children. So for the most part, families who are like, yeah, we received significant consultation as a family and counseling together before discussing even the possibility of other treatments. Like, yeah, how many of these adjusted adults? And like, again, and so here's another question that I have. This positive outcome, positive experiences and negative experiences, who is reporting this? Are you just talking about the parents? So the parents who felt that there was a positive experience with their kid's transition are the ones who forced their kid to do extensive counseling and therapy first. Parents who report negative experiences did not do adequate, quote unquote, adequate counseling, which is not to say that they didn't do any counseling, but that it was not, quote unquote, adequate. So yeah, like who, again, it's that question about the rapid onset gender dysphoria. Like, who are you even listening to? When you're sitting here compiling data about us, when you're listening to our experiences, who are you talking to? It sounds like mostly you're talking to the parents in this instance. Yeah, of course, why would they ask us? They don't see us as people. It's not as exciting as everybody is making it seem. It's like marginally good, but also they still plan to restrict our rights and access by inserting government into the prospect at all. Like, get out of it completely. Leave us alone. We are doing just fine without you. It's the same with the bathroom issue, with all of this shit. Like, trans people have just been existing, and we've been working with the medical system, and there haven't been any particular legal requirements for anything, and everything has been going fine until y'all start making a big deal out of us and like deciding, oh, we have so many concerns. Like, please suck my dick and get off of my just get off of my timeline. Like, get out of my face. The devil is in the fine print on this one. Yeah, don't celebrate this. If you message him, because the governor's page is open, you can message him or his office. You know, you can say, hey, thanks for, vetoing this particular bill, but also what the fuck are you doing with these other restrictions? Just leave us alone. Just get out of it. It's very frustrating to me that, people were like celebrating it. And here's another thing that's frustrating to me. People are celebrating this because the headlines were going around, ooh, he vetoed it. All I had to do was literally read his own statement instead of reading like frankly, sometimes a person like Erin Reed will post, and all she did initially was post that it got vetoed, and then other people started criticizing the details of this thing, and then Erin Reed started tweeting about how, there were problematic aspects to this. Like, yeah, if you just read the headline, or if you just read the first couple paragraphs of this, you do have to actually look deeply in and go, oh, shit, this is still a bad thing. Hi, thank you so much to all of my patrons, especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Amanda B., Michelle Frateroli, Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Danielle McDonald, DZXN, Suzanne Maynard, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Jamie Jam, Pasnell Infinity, Nova, Elizabeth Bartell, Sojo, Sarah A., Athiet, Kevin Young, Celeste, Desi Quiche, Liam Hodgson, Mr. Atheist, and Ella V. Nobody.